but they decided to come back out to play. Right, the lean-to. Get these in quickly before the sun starts setting, and what to do with this area at the back. So good afternoon and welcome back to my plot. If you're new here, my name is Dora and I have an allotment plot in the Cotswolds, and I've had this plot for 1 year now. So I've come down and blimey, it's a different picture to this time last week when the ground was covered in snow and it was so pretty. But thankfully the sun has made an appearance this afternoon. It was raining this morning, so I thought it might have been a drizzly vlog today, but thankfully not. It's just super crisp. I don't know if you can see my breath. It's about 4 degrees, so it's really cold, but a blue sky, so it's a lovely afternoon to do a couple of hours down at the allotment. Now I brought down more onions with me. These are ones that I started off at home. They've gone a bit floppy. I think they were struggling for light where I had them at home, but I'd like to plant these out. And the ones that I planted out in my last video, the poor things have had that temporary netting over them for far too long now. So the first job is to get the more permanent netting that I can put over the arches in. I'm going to go and check on those broad beans that I planted out last week as well, and I have brought some more with me to get in the ground. I want to get the last of the garlic in, and I also brought some tulips with me to just dot around the plot to hopefully have some spring colour. It does still seem strange thinking ahead to spring, but there we go. And then the final thing today I hope to get around to is to just talk a little bit about my plans for the back corner of the plot where I've currently put that manure. So without further ado, I might have to get a hat on, but let's go and check on those onions. I hope they're doing okay and not too squished. Yay, they've definitely been growing, and that's the main thing. They haven't been eaten by anything, I don't think. Nothing's got under the netting, but they are just getting a little bit squished on the top. So yeah, definitely want to get this on first thing. I can also see my garlic popping up. Oh, it's so exciting. So this netting I ordered from Amazon, and it feels really soft, so hopefully will be easy to lay over, and it's a very fine mesh. I will link it below. I did a bit of just searching through the netting to find one that's large enough for this, but also is enough to cover maybe another bed or two. So it's 10 meters by, actually I can't remember, so I'll pop it on the screen. Okay, first things first, let's remove these pegs and get this one off here. Goodness me, it just about fits width-wise. I think that almost looks like it's made to measure. I just need to work out the amount I need on the end before I cut it off that end. and then pop it in situ. Really, I should move this one up into the middle a little bit more, but I think I'll do that another day. This is going to be the wonkiest line ever, I think. I just don't really want to roll all of that out. I might regret that. And they're getting stuck in the scissors. Uh-oh. Probably better to just maybe rip it. After much faffing, I think it's intact. This netting's actually quite good because it's very stretchy, so I have been able to kind of put these wooden, God knows what they even are, they were just left at the plot. I think they maybe used to be raised beds or something, but just these wooden poles on the end to hold it down for now. I'm wary of putting those pins back into this netting because I learned that with the other white netting, that it ends up being really holey, and then it's a bit harder to cover the crops because, you know, there's more ways for potentially insects to get in. So I'm trying to use things to weigh it down as much as possible. However, I'm also thinking about slugs, and I don't want this wood to attract the slugs. So if anyone's got any good tips on weighing netting down, I would be really grateful if you could share them. And if I find a better way of doing this in the meantime, I will let you know. This isn't perfect, but it's done. For now, I'm going to move on to the next job, but I think first it's time for a cup of tea. A blackbird's come to see what I'm up to, and he's perched on the tree up there. Hello, you looking for worms? That reminds me, I keep forgetting to bring some bird food down. The birds at home have been scoffing the seed and the mealworms, etc., but I need to bring some down to feed the allotment birds. Anyway, I'm gonna have a little snack. I've got balance going on here. We have carrots and hummus and a picnic bar. I think that will provide the energy I need to get these onions in the ground. And what else was I going to do? The garlic and the tulips. So I'll see you shortly. About a week or so ago, I planted out these Spring Hero cabbages as a bit of a trial to see if they get immediately munched, and I'm chuffed to see that they are still here. There's a couple that the outer leaves have been eaten a little bit, but they look pretty good. So I'm probably not going to have time today, but I need to get the rest out, and I think this will be the area because at least it has the netting from the pigeons scoffing them, and I'll just have to keep a close eye out for slugs when they decide to come back out to play. My brassicas are looking good, albeit very wonky. They've definitely taken quite the lean-to in the recent week, but they're looking green and luscious. I've just taken this off the floor, which was from one of the brassicas, and it was an old leaf, and it's just a bit of a reminder to take out any old foliage because it attracts the slugs. So I've caught these two little cheeky ones. I'm taking down this second runner bean arch now, as they have definitely been bitten by the frost. Now, in my last video I took down the other one, and someone commented, and I did see on Instagram as well, I think Nettles and Petals, said that you can actually mulch the stems that you've cut off and they should regrow in spring. So I'm going to try it with the one over there because I'd like to plant garlic here. So I'm going to probably like purposely kill these ones without pulling them up. But I will mulch over those ones and just see if anything happens. Right, enough nattering. I'm going to pull this out and get the garlic in here and then the rest of the onions as well, and then I can do the same as I have done over there with the hoops and netting on this bed too. Just having a think about whether I mulch this with the compost that I have in the polytunnel or leave it, because it does still look quite good, and then compost mulch it in spring. I think I'll probably just get them in as they are now, and I can always actually add a layer of compost on afterwards. Right, now I've worked that one out, I'm going to plant these thermodrome, and they are a soft neck. So I've got 2 bulbs here. I am probably going to plant 2 rows and then leave this for onions, get the onions in as well. And it's another bed prepared, ready for next year. Fingers crossed it does okay. Right, I also was organised and brought down a lollipop stick with the name of the garlic in, and I do have named ones ready to pop over there where I planted the garlic and didn't label it. So I just need to remind myself what was in there and label those up as well. Right, let's get these in the ground. This soil is actually lovely and soft, so I'm just gonna pop them in now and mulch them another day, as I can just do it with the dibber and it's lovely. So I've got 3 rows here ready to drop those in. I do need to stop myself so that I've got room for the onions as well. And then I need to find somewhere else to put the rest of these. And that does link in with my plans for over there. So once I've done this, I will tell you about what I'm thinking of doing in that corner over there. I'm going to pick the biggest cloves here, because the bigger the clove, the bigger the garlic you should get. Now, I don't like not using the smaller ones, but I will prioritise planting these bigger ones up. And flat side down, pointy side up. And I'm planting them about an inch or so deep. Should really use a glove for that. Okay, because I've got 10 big cloves out of these bulbs, I think I'm going to actually just leave it with those ones alone. So 10 thermodrome there, especially when I've got garlic all in this side of the bed. And I am a bit conscious that if there's a pest or an issue with any of this, it will just spread across the lot. I did really want to dot things around, but anyway, I'm going to stop there and start popping the onions from this side onwards. I am also wondering whether it might be a bit shady for them here, but let's give it a go, and I can always get some more onions in spring anyway. These are the same onions that I planted in a previous video. They are radar, and they are from the Heritage Organic Seed Company, and they've been very good so far. I mean, every single one has shooted, so I am hoping for good things. Anyway, I'm going to just literally pop one of these out of the module and drop it in there and cover it like so. I will link my previous onion and garlic videos just because I'll show you what I'm doing in a bit more detail in those ones, but I'm really conscious of time now and I've done lots of yappering on, so I need to get these in quickly before the sun starts setting. The cloud has definitely come over now, there is no more sun left, but it was lovely to have it whilst it lasted. The onions are in now, which is great. Another thing ticked off. I've still got many onions to go in, so I might pot those ones up just to let them grow on a little bit more and just store them in the polytunnel. But I've noticed that the poor broad beans that I planted out have been completely munched, and I think it's a squirrel, because I did see a squirrel scootling off when I arrived at the allotment earlier. But here's the telltale sign. We have tips of broad beans scattered around, and I can't actually see any growing. They have just been completely obliterated, which is actually really sad because these are broad beans I was really looking forward to trying. The variety that I brought down with me is called the Sutton, and this was Super Acqua Dolce, and I think I've used all of those ones up. So I'm gonna have to get some more and try again. I won't have time now to plant the other ones out, but I'll leave them in the shed ready to plant out next time. Never mind, I tried. Okay, I thought I would just share my thoughts around what to do with this area at the back. So I haven't used it this year, I've had it covered over, and I've recently just popped the manure under there to rot down a little bit before I put it on the beds and so forth. And I've been really wondering what to do with this area, either to put a polytunnel there, a greenhouse there, or raised beds, or even just do no dig growing straight into the ground, kind of like the beds that I've got over there. And it's been kind of whirling around in my head. I do think I'm missing raised beds though from this allotment. I really like the Charles Dowding style, but with the slugs and everything, I'm thinking I'd quite like almost a backup option and a bit of variety to the plot by having some raised beds there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I really do quite like the corrugated metal raised beds. So I'm thinking about those, or maybe the wooden ones, but not the pallet collar raised beds that I'm using at the moment, but kind of build the beds myself. So that's what I'm thinking. This spot does get rather sunny, so it should be good for raised beds. And I think I would be able to, in the long run, maybe fit 4 here, but I might just start off with 2 and see how we go, and do a bit of a learning approach and change it as I go. But what do you think? Do you think that that's a good idea, or should I be doing something else with this space? I'm being a little bit indecisive about it, to be honest. I'm going to leave the tulip planting until next week. I need to get this netting on first as a priority. But I thought I would share what I've done with the medlars that I picked about 3 to 4 weeks ago-ish, from memory, and I will see you back here after that. I won't be offended if you don't want to see cooking, then please feel free to skip back to the allotment, or I will see you again soon. But it's quite an unusual fruit, so I thought you might be intrigued to see what I did with it and how my recipe turned out. Hi, it's drizzly Sunday afternoon, so I thought it was the perfect day to do something with the medlars that I picked from the allotment a few weeks ago. This is all of the medlars that I picked, and this is after they've been bletted. So you blet them to bring out the natural sweetness in the fruit, and then once they have been bletted and they've gone all squishy, that's when you can cook with them. And I picked them in this bag, and it's kind of a breathable material. It's not Hessian. It's almost a bit like a dishcloth. That's the only way I could describe it. So it's breathable, and I left them to blet in this bag, hung on the back of a door of a cool room with no heating in. Now, what I planned to do was to lay them out like I have them now, but I've only just done that this morning. Originally to blet that way, as it's definitely the way you're meant to do it, so there's a bit more air circulating around them and so forth, and there's less of a risk of them going mouldy. But thankfully, mine have turned out okay, considering they have been all on top of each other in this bag with zero attention to them thereafter. They are now lovely and squishy. So what I'm going to do with them is attempt to make a jelly to accompany what I'm hoping will be cheese at Christmas on crackers. I'm using a recipe that I found online, and all it asks for is 1.4 kilograms of your medlars, 600 grams of sugar, half a lemon and an apple. It does ask for, from memory, a green apple with the core, seeds and the skin all intact. Now, I don't actually have an apple, and I don't really fancy going out on this drizzly afternoon just for an apple. So I'm going to use the allotment apples that I've got in the freezer. The only thing is they are chopped up and peeled and frozen, so I'm just hoping that they will be okay, considering they've got that, maybe the water content in them. Okay, the hair is out of the face so that we can crack on now. So I have just taken a handful or so of frozen apple out of the freezer. Like I said, this has not got any pips in or any of the skin or anything, because it was prepared ready for cooking. And I have to thank my mum for that. She did a lot of this apple preparation and popping it in the freezer. So I would say that's roughly an apple. This probably isn't the recipe that I should be guessing amounts with, but here we go. We're giving it a try anyway. So what the recipe says to do next is give your medlars a swill and chop them into quarters and add them to a pan. Gosh, so that is 1.6 kilos, and I have all of these left, which is pretty good because it means that if this goes completely wrong, I can try something else with these ones. As I've been swilling these, I've noticed that some of them are only half bletted, so this is actually a good example to show you what they were like before and after. So I'm going to take these ones out and just replace them with ones that are a lot darker and softer. These have gone an even darker brown now, so let's chop them in half. Oh wow, they are so squishy. Oh my goodness, I should really try one just as it is. I'm going to just scoop out a tiny bit of the flesh of one. And oh, okay, they've got little seeds, pips in them. So my worry about the apple and the pectin, the seeds should provide the pectin for the jelly to set anyway. So they're actually quite big seeds in there. So I wouldn't recommend just biting down on one from seeing that, but just scooping out a bit of the flesh. It's kind of like a brown, mushy texture. I didn't know what to expect, so it is almost, it's like sweet, a bit tangy, almost slightly alcoholic, like an underlying alcoholic taste. I'd also describe it as maybe like if you mushed together an apple and a pear. not explaining that very well, but it's nice. I don't actually think I tried them last year. I did blend them, but then I don't think I ended up using them. I can't remember this taste anyway. Gosh, you know it is autumn coming into winter when it's going dark at 3:30, so the lighting might be a little bit rubbish from here on in. But all of the medlars are chopped, and I've added the half a lemon chopped into 4, and then the apple is underneath. So now I'm going to add about 2 litres or so of water so that the medlars are covered, and bring it up to the boil. Whilst that is coming up to the boil, I'm going to plant these little indoor daffodils. I saw this in a local garden centre a few weeks ago and just couldn't resist. So it's 4 bridal crown daffodils in a bowl, which is rather sweet. And it came with a soil block that you have to hydrate, hence the fork. So all of the soil is now hydrated with water. So I'm going to bury these daffodils in there, so they're about halfway into the bowl and covered up, and I'll then put them somewhere cool for a couple of weeks, so probably the garage actually, so cool and dark. And then when I see a bit of growth, I'll bring them out into the kitchen and they will be a lovely display over winter. And there we have the lovely little daffodils ready to start growing on in this very sweet bowl. I always think these little sets as well make such wonderful gifts. And that was the perfect amount of time for my medlars to come to the boil. The apple has risen to the top as well. I'm going to turn this down to a low boil, so probably I'll try number 6 first. Right, it's now an hour later and pitch black, and the liquid with the medlars in that was boiling away has really reduced now, so it's time to strain it. It's reduced quite significantly. It was about up here before. So now these just need to be left overnight to drip through. Do not be tempted to squeeze the mixture together to get more liquid out, because it will turn the jelly cloudy. So you just completely leave it until it's all dripped through, and then tomorrow it goes back on the hob with the sugar to make the jelly. So on that note, I will say good evening and I will see you tomorrow. Good afternoon, it's now the next day and my medlar liquid has been straining overnight, so I thought I would just check on how it's doing before I boil it up later today with the sugar to turn it into a jelly. So this is how I left the bowls overnight. So you have the medlars in this tea towel, and I haven't squeezed it or anything, it's just been dripping through the colander. And each bowl has the liquid, which is very exciting. So there is actually almost a litre in this bowl alone, and the recipe does say that you should approximately get a litre from this mixture, and there's a dribble in there. So the next step is to bring the liquid up to a boil to 104 degrees with the sugar, which I think is about 600 grams. My problem is I don't have a thermometer to measure the sugar, so I'm going to try the cold freezer plate trick. Okay, I'm now questioning the measurements on this bowl because this container, so this saucepan, says that it's not even up to 1 litre. It looks more like half a litre. So I'm just going to have to check the sugar amounts to make sure I get the ratio right. I'm also going to be saving these medlars that I've cooked to make another recipe from them, because it seems like a waste to throw all of these away. And I think you can kind of boil these up with sugar as well to make more of a quince butter / quince cheese. I'm getting back in the kitchen now after work, and it's time to get the jelly on the go. So I have been looking at recipes and I've measured out the actual amount of liquid that I've got, and it's close to 600 ml, so not the litre that I thought it was. So I found a recipe that says to use 375 grams of sugar per 500 ml. So I'm going to add about 400 grams of sugar to this, bring it to the boil, and then let it simmer for about 10 minutes. Then do the spoon test with a cold plate that's been in the freezer and see if it crinkles, and you know it's set. I really hope that it does set and we get some jelly, so fingers crossed. Moment of truth. I've had this little blob in the fridge for a few moments, and now I'm going to push it with my finger and see if it crinkles. So that one's definitely going gelatinous, as you can see, and on the plate it's definitely crinkling. So I think that's done. I think it's going to be quite a soft jelly kind of mixture, but I think that's how it is meant to be. Now for the full taste test. Well, that's good. It's way sweeter than I thought. I mean, that's to be expected with all of the sugar that I put in there. But it's got a really good balance of sweetness and acidity. I did add another half a lemon to the mixture, and it's really good. I think I could just eat that on toast, but it'll be really delicious with cheese as well. So I'm going to get the jars out of the oven as they've been sterilising and pour the hot liquid into the hot jars and let them cool overnight. Blimey, that's delicious. I'm even just scraping the bottom of the pan, just eating it. But you can see it's gone quite gelatinous already. So it means there was definitely enough pectin in the medlar seeds, and then the apple probably helped too. But absolutely chuffed. Such a beautiful colour as well. So I've made enough for one kind of full kilner jar, and a tiny drizzle there that will have to be eaten first as the tester. So I think, seeing how this is tomorrow, I'm definitely going to make some more. Welcome back to the allotment. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I got up to with the medlar jelly. To be honest, I'm surprised it came out so well. I was really worried about the pectin levels and not having a thermometer, so I'm really pleased how it did come out, and I look forward to trying some different recipes with the rest of the medlars. done. Another rustic one. I've now got the netting on that second bed of onions and garlic, so it's very rustic, but it's done the job. And now it's definitely time to head back. So thank you ever so much for joining me this week at the allotment and for a bit of cooking if you watched that as well. I appreciate that this is probably a very long video and longer than usual. I have been posting kind of every other week recently rather than every week, just with work commitments and getting the time to come down here and the weather and a few different things. So I will try and post weekly if I can, but otherwise there'll definitely be a video every other week or so. So thank you for bearing with me, and if there's anything you'd like to see in particular over winter, please do let me know as well. Anyway, have a lovely week and I'll see you again soon. Bye.